Hi everyone, Simon Jacobson here from Palm Beach, Florida. Another episode of Meaningful Live, a world drowning in plenty, starving for purpose. I am in a world of plenty here, exactly where I'm sitting. This program is dedicated by Diane Weil in honor of Jerry, David, Jessica, Olivia, Alex, and Alex Weil. So as I said, yes, right here, beautiful Palm Beach, plenty of wealth and prosperity, plenty, as well as in so many other places in the world today. This is not to minimize in any way people who are in poverty or suffering, but it's to do a contrast that on one hand, we are drowning in plenty, the availability, the accessibility. You just press a button and you can have something delivered to your door in 20 minutes, a half hour. And on the other hand, starving literally for purpose. One of the biggest questions I keep getting asked, and it's only increasing and only accelerating. What's the purpose of my life? Why am I here? And I think the disparity of so much success on one end, so much access. We have communications, the ability to literally see anything at any time, anywhere, is just unprecedented, mind-blowing. And yet, on a spiritual level, on a psychological and emotional level, do we feel that much progress? We still find loneliness, sadness, depression, people looking to escape, to find some way to numb and relieve the tension, the anxiety. So I want to address that. You see, one of the strange phenomena, I should say, is when we have comforts, when we're in our comfort zone, it tends to conceal and hide the inner truths of life. Now, things are going well. We don't have to dig deeper. And it's interesting that in Hebrew, the word for nature is teva. Teva means submerged. Submerged. With a classic example being given that you take an object and you throw it in water, gets submerged in water. What happens to the object? It's still there, but you don't see it. And you can convince yourself that the surface, the face of the water is all there is. That's the power of nature, the power of repetition, power of things happening again and again, and we get used to it. That's nature. In many ways, that creates a certain complacency and apathy, and not appreciating the excitement, the vivacity, the passion of life, the energy within. Today, we're so comfortable with the concept of energy, and yet we can still be trapped on the superficial surface of things and not look inward. When things get disrupted in our lives and the outer surface gets shaken up, then suddenly we have no choice, and those forces begin to erupt, literally like a volcano. Volcano is building up tremendous pressures, same thing with an earthquake, but we don't notice it, or most of us don't. You only notice it once it's already ready to erupt. But the forces are there all the time. As we speak right now, you have within you, within your soul, within your spirit, tremendous power, potency. But you don't see it until there's some type of pressure. Like they say about a tea bag. You don't know how strong it is until you put it into hot water. Same thing with competition. Same thing with resistance. If you don't have the negative charge, you can't really access the positive charge. You need to have the tension. And tension comes from something that's not so comfortable. When an athlete or a musician or an artist or any person pushes themselves beyond their limits, They're drawing out more energy. In the words of the Talmud, an olive does not produce oil until you pressure it, until you squeeze it, until you press it. So on one hand, there's a certain comfort in just, hey, don't rock the boat, things are fine. Usually what wakes us up from our reverie, our sleep, is something that shocks our system, something that disrupts our system. But we don't have to wait for that. That's the key. We can wake ourselves up. We don't have to wait for pain, tragedy, trauma. And that's by exerting ourselves, by pushing ourselves. It can come from our curiosity. Our curiosity. Knowledge is pain. Sometimes to find out things is not exactly comfortable, but it allows you to access deeper truths. Often when I speak for groups that are involved in healing, the healing environment, I'll say the ugly truth is more beautiful than the most beautiful lie. The deception of everything is fine is far uglier, I should say, than the discomfort of something that appears uncomely, unseemly. Because you're finding the truth of things, and that's what we want. Now, why is it that way? So the Kabbalists and the mystics explain it in their own fashion, that this was the divine inversion of energy, called it Tzimtzum, that conceals, but in it lies tremendous power. Because the more you conceal, the more, like a black hole, for example, is so powerful the gravitational pull doesn't even allow the light to escape. So is that darkness, or is that even more potency? But it's a potency that's inverted. A kettle that's boiling, tremendous boiling energy. If it doesn't have a spout, it will explode at some point. So as long as it's contained, you don't see or feel it. And the same thing with all tremendous power. Look at the atom. Look at atomic energy, nuclear energy. These are all tremendously powerful forces, but they're concentrated. And as long as they're concentrated in their little, we'll call it nucleus, it's not obvious to the naked eye. But those that are wise, as our sages tell us, the wise see the birthing. They don't have to wait for the egg to crack to recognize that a new life is coming forth. They recognize within the potential lies tremendous power. And this gets back to our lives. We live in a world where the plenty is only growing. With AI and other new tools, more and more of our external work will be done for us. And what are we left with? What are we left with? A certain emptiness. There's a vacuum. Because once you're not spending so much time on survival, on taking care of your needs, what do you do with all that extra time? So when Joe Rogan interviewed Elon Musk, they were talking about AI, and Musk made it clear there'll be a point where all the work will be done for us. So Rogan asked him, so what will we do all the time? So Rogan said, we'll play golf all day. And Musk wisely said, no, we'll be getting in touch with the truth of the universe. So call it as you wish. Some people would call it God. Some people would call it the cosmic mysteries. Some call it the indeterministic, undefined energies of existence. However you call it, it is about getting connected to some deeper power. And yes, external surface, like the very nature of nature itself, is a concealer. It hides the truth. Just like the Matrix hid the truth. The deepest secrets lie embedded within your very being, within the fiber of every atom, a subatomic particle of existence. And it's our job is to unleash that power. So in this dichotomy and disparity that we see today between communications, connections, unprecedented, but disconnections that are also unprecedented, it shouldn't surprise us. Because the more free time we have, the more things will be done for us, the bigger the vacuum, the more boredom, you can say, will emerge. And that's when we will be challenged. And we are being challenged to deal with finding purpose. So, how do you find purpose? You find purpose by looking at not your needs and your self interest, but how you serve, how you help the world around you. That's how you find purpose. That means very specifically and very explicitly looking for your mission in life. That every morning, not just you make a game plan of what you're going to be doing, where will you be traveling, but what is the ultimate purpose of it all? How will you convert all those activities into opportunities? So I'll speak for myself. The work I do is so gratifying. Every day, literally, I'm excited to take on the challenges of the day. And there are days that you really find people come to you with all kinds of issues. Some are very painful. But I feel that I was blessed to be in the right place in the right time, a certain trust and a certain knowledge, a certain sensitivity to the human condition. And when you look at it that way, then whatever comes your way, you're looking, how do I bring my unique strengths and my unique sensitivities to help others, to help unclog the blockages, to help get beyond fears, insecurities, inhibitions that so many suffer, to get beyond your very own uncertainties and addictions and traps that are extremely difficult to get free yourself from once they've engulfed you. Once their tentacles have taken over, it becomes your nature, your second nature. So that's a driving force, and it's not comfortable always. It's often not, and especially to push yourself, to work harder, to help. I'm just using myself as an example, but I'm not the only example. Ask yourself the same question. Do you have a game plan, a proactive game plan, not just to react, but to be able to give of your particular strengths to whatever situation you come into? And this isn't just a job, a paying job. It's about a life mission. That you are allocated a certain amount of opportunities, what the Kabbalists call spiritual sparks, and that will make themselves available to you, or they will appear to you in every interaction, every person you meet, friend, stranger, co-commuter, employee, employer, colleagues, whoever. Every encounter, every interaction is filled with tremendous spiritual potential. And your mission is to free those sparks, is to unleash that potential. When you have that in mind, then whatever you're doing, that is your mission. The more we're flooded with plenty, with material possessions and commodities, the more we will need this inner purpose. And literally, in direct proportion. Because the more the success on the outer level, the more the need and the hunger and the void and vacuum that will exist in the inner level. And that's where we're at today. That's why we call this period in time in history that we're on the verge of a new revolution. We'll call it the spiritual revolution. After the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the information revolution, the computer, atomic, nuclear revolutions, we're coming to the spiritual revolution, where machines and technology will be doing all our external work. Once upon a time, we had to do it ourselves. And what we will be left with is the soul's work, soulful work of elevating, refining this world, of having it play music, cosmic music, of finding unity within the diversity, of unleashing these tremendously potent powers that are there right waiting for you to free them. And together, when each of us does our unique role in this universal global mission, we transform this world into a material world that becomes a garden, a divine garden of peace, of harmony, of inner purpose and inner meaning. And the material world and all its successes and all its accomplishments and all its plenty are fuel that fuels the spiritual revolution. That, my friends, is where we're at. And that's my thoughts and message for today. Be blessed and be well. This has been Simon Jacobson, meaningfullife.com. If this message was meaningful to you, please share it with others. Please subscribe to our offerings, meaningfullife.com, and our YouTube channel. And of course, as always, please love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. Be well and be blessed. And until next time, bye-bye.